It's that time again. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking to finally build a business that creates consistent cash flow, but you're concerned about all of the market disruptions, relax. You found your safe haven to learn the secret to success. List, you last. Welcome to this week's podcast. Hey, welcome everybody. Bob Mangold, the listing coach, here with episode 11 of the If You List, You Last podcast. Now, pretty excited. Got the paperback version of the book yesterday. So pretty cool. You can visit ifyoulistyouLast.com to download a copy. And as always, folks, thanks for listening, downloading, and sharing this podcast. Now, this week we have an amazing guest that has an incredible story. I call him the Nomad Listing Agent, who's out traveling across the country while he's taking a couple listings every week in the Southern California area where he used to live. Now, the amazing part is he's not in Southern California. He could be on the other side of the country, yet he's still taking a couple listings a week and having amazing results at his open houses. So you're really going to be blown away by the story. So as always, join our Facebook Real Estate Asset Advisors group to share your thoughts or comments or questions on any of the topics that I discuss on the podcast. And I encourage you to join our bi-weekly Elevate business briefings every other Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can register for those at www.elevatebusiness.com. That's plural, briefings.com. Let's get started with today's show. So let's talk real quick about the mortgage market, what's going on there, because it's so integral to people starting to sell their houses and open up inventory for us, right? It was another steady week for mortgage-backed securities. It's about 3 weeks in a row now. Very little has changed, right? So if you remember the chart that I showed you last week, it's still trading in that range. Now, this week, housing starts and sales will be released. So those will be some interesting numbers to take a look at, and we'll see if it has any impact on the market at all. After last week's consumer price index was released, there was almost no reaction, and mortgage-backed securities are still trading in that same range that they've been in for the last few weeks. Now, as always, if there's updates or big moves, I'll keep you updated in the Facebook group. But for now, no news is good news. And you can still get the amazing rates that I talked about last week, like a 750 plus credit score on a conventional loan can still get a 6 3/8% interest rate. You can always take a look at FHA, where the rate is somewhere around 5.5% right now. So it just illustrates how important it is to stay on top of that, because it can have a pretty big impact on your conversation. Now, if you haven't downloaded episode 10 of the podcast on getting a loan below a 2% interest rate in today's market, I highly recommend you do that, because having that conversation with potential sellers could open up a ton of listing possibilities for you. It's the number one reason people are hanging on to their home right now is they think they can't get a better interest rate. And so if you look at episodes 9 and episode 10 about how even if they took a higher interest rate, they could still afford to sell the house and be positive cash flow, or they could actually get a rate and do the loan properly. They could actually pay less than 2% on the loan. So make sure that you listen to episodes 9 and 10, because it will open up a lot of conversations with you. What I'd recommend that you do is maybe shoot a quick video and send it out to your database. See who's thinking about it. That's it on the mortgage update for this week. So let's get to this week's big interview. And I'm going to switch it over and I'll introduce Robert. And we're going to talk about how he runs his business, what his life looks like from this point, and really, hey, why did he do something like that? So we're going to switch it over and we'll talk to you on the other side. All right, so let's get to the meat of the show, the heart of the show. If you've heard any of the classes that I've taught or on any of the business briefings, you've probably heard me refer to Robert, who's traveling the country and got rid of everything, bought a what I call a rock star luxury RV to travel the world. Yet he takes listings in his home market of Southern California while he's traveling. And so it's the craziest concept, and people are always asking me, how does that work? So I thought I'd have him on today. So I've got Robert with me to talk about what he's doing and how and why and all those things, to give you guys a little bit of background. So Robert, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely my pleasure.
And you were just telling me you're got the RV parked in like a mountain kind of area.
Yeah.
Cool breezes blowing in. And if you're watching this on video, you can see the back of his where he works, right? So this is inside your right. Yeah.
That's my driver's chair. It's a
Yep.
turned around, and my wife has it all decorated because we're not using it while we're not driving.
So what in the world made you decide to do this? Like, how long did it take you to decide to do this? Let's start there.
You know what, Bob? Carl and I have always owned RVs and recreational vehicles, and we like going to the desert and the river and camping, and we like the outdoors. But a couple of years ago, I started taking all of my listings via Zoom. The pandemic came and we need to come up with another way. And that's one of the good things that came out of that was I started doing all of my listing appointments via Zoom. I've been doing that for a good 2.5 years now. And it is the most efficient way, in my opinion, to work with the seller. There's no better way. Think about it. 3 to 5 minutes, you can get that conversation started instead of taking 3 or 5 hours off your calendar for driving time, especially in Southern California. And I think we've been all over the country and we find that traffic's everywhere. And if we go to a listing appointment, it takes 30, 40, 60 minutes, however long to get there for another hour, and then another hour to get back in traffic. That's 3 hours gone. So I wanted to become more efficient. I wanted to use the technology and the tools that I had at my fingertips. So I started taking my Zoom calls on the road. And then you and I, a couple of years ago, were in Cabo. Took 4 listings from the beach with my Corona right on that table next to me.
We have pictures of it.
Four listings from Cabo. And I started thinking, wait a second, I can do this from anywhere in the world. I'm going to test it out. And so Carl and I have always wanted to travel the country. And now we have nothing keeping us back. Our kids are at the age where they really don't need us that much. And we're like, this is the time we're going to do this. So we have agents all over the country. We're going to go visit them. We're going to start in Phoenix and go to Florida, to Maine, to Washington, and back down to San Diego. That's what our calendar looks like this year. Taking listings from Zoom right here in the comfort of my own motorhome.
So I always talk about being outside the box, thinking outside the box, right? Real estate's a very conforming business, right? It's been the same stuff everybody's been teaching for the last 50 years. I watched this program over the weekend that some gurus got out there about listings and whatever and the objections and how to answer them. And man, that is so 1970s, right? Hey, do y'all hear of Sitzer Burnett and all those kind of things? So this is totally outside the box, isn't it?
You know what it absolutely is? And I find that it's far more efficient. I'm getting more and more sellers, Bob, thanking me for being efficient with their time. They didn't realize that they just thought they had to meet with somebody in person every single time. And when I present to them a solution that we can get in, get out, and get what we need to do done right away, they're like, thank you. I'm starting to get more and more thank you for this system. It's wonderful.
Because the funny thing is, many agents tell us that we're crazy that we do it this way, or that it wouldn't work, or my clients wouldn't want this, or it doesn't work in Buffalo, or it doesn't work in Chicago, right? That's that box that agents have put themselves in to say it doesn't work. And at the end of the day, folks, it works everywhere. The only question is, will you make it work? And literally over the last 4 years, actually, it'll be 5 years in March,
Yeah.
believe it or not, ever since we met in Southern California.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've constantly worked on and improved and done things and tested the boundaries. And he's right. When COVID happened, we didn't think of not going to a listing appointment until COVID. And then we found out, guess what? People know how to use Zoom and they'd rather not have to meet with you. So it's whatever boundaries you put in your mind is what you're going to live to. And at this point, so early to mid 50s, right? For both of you guys, right?
Yeah.
And you're able to take and go and travel the country.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, take listings, and you could be 2,000 miles away and it doesn't matter. Isn't that the kind of real estate business everybody maybe should want? You don't have to want it. It's a pretty cool one, isn't it?
You know what's interesting, Bob? When we first embarked on this idea, it was an idea. We put it on our vision board. We took a picture of the exact motorhome. We seen hundreds of RVs, maybe more, but the one that we wanted ended up being on our vision board from before. We just didn't know it. We
Right.
made our vision board a year ago, and that one we wanted was on there. And when we have this conversation with people, family, friends, the first thing out of their mouth is, oh my God, I want to do that. It's on my bucket list. Or they say, wait a second, did you retire? I'm like, no, I didn't retire. All of my systems, everything I do is via Zoom.
making more money than ever. And no, I'm not retired. And so it was funny because yesterday I had a conversation with an agent. He said, "Hey, I really like that idea." We talked about it on one of the business briefings. And he said, "I really want to do that." And I says, "Great. What's that business look like for you? What do you need to do that? Start business planning." So just like you said, hey, it went on the vision board. And then it was like, okay, now we're actually putting a plan together because obviously part of that plan is, well, I can do listings on Zoom. So you got good at that. But especially the way we do our home boss open houses, we can have hundreds and hundreds of people in these open houses. If you're in Florida, how are you going to do an open house in California? That's a dilemma, right?
It is certainly a dilemma for an agent that thinks that they need to personally be there.
And so
And
you simply
yeah,
went out, expanded a team, trained them what to do. And like you had one yesterday, you weren't there and it sounded like it went pretty darn successful.
you know what? We have some good agents on our team. We have some newer agents and some experienced agents, and it's all about coordinating and organizing the open house, driving massive traffic to that property, setting up systems so those folks are checked in properly and all their questions are answered. And it's a system that needs to work without you. That's the big thing.
And most importantly, to implement and coach and train on what we refer to as 1 into 5. So how do I take one listing and turn it into 5 additional transactions? It could be 5 listings. It could be 5 buyers. It could be 3 and 2, 2 and 3. We don't care. But the goal from every listing, imagine a real estate business, folks, as you listen to this, that you can be anywhere to take the listing appointment. And if you'll teach your agents how to take and do these open houses right, they can turn them into another 3 to 5 transactions. And Robert's on the other side of the world. There's some planning and there's some coaching and there's training. He didn't just decide one day to get up and do this. This was a couple of years in the making.
2.5 years in the making. And I'm just really bummed I didn't do it sooner.
Yeah, folks, this does take time. Everybody just thinks, hey, he jumped into his RV. This guy that I talked to yesterday said, I've got an RV. I want to do that. You're not going to be able to just jump in your RV and go and make that happen. You've got to plan this out and think it through and have a system. And one of the things that the Home Boss system does for us, because it's so unique, it's not like a normal listing agent going in there and they whip open their PowerPoint. Let me tell you how long I've been to business. Let me get to know me a little bit and hear about my company and here's the marketing and here's those kinds of things. That's not as conducive. Full disclosure, I'm not knocking it. And it could be done. It's just going to be more difficult. That's all.
Absolutely.
And then to be able to take and say, hey, we can drive that kind of traffic into these open houses because like you had that open house yesterday. How much did you spend to promote the open house?
If you know me, I just don't like spending money. And I can't remember. I don't think I spent any money. None, zero.
Yeah, we don't spend a dime to do it. Maybe
No,
we do a Facebook boosted post, maybe to do it. And then any idea, I know you weren't there, but any idea how many people were at it?
we had the first day we had 48 groups. That's entire groups. There's groups of 5, 6, 7,
Right.
and then very similar amount the next day. So Saturday and Sunday were both constantly well traveled. And it was the agents, the report back that I got from the agents, they were so busy. They were like spinning. It was awesome.
So call it 96. And the way that we refer to it, Robert called it groups. I refer to it as a buying unit. So if mom, dad, and 3 kids come in, because we get that a lot, Bob, you can't get that kind of traffic in an open house. You got to be fudging the numbers. And the answer is no, we're not. If mom, dad, and 3 kids come in, that's one buying unit, one group. It doesn't matter if they come in with kids. It doesn't matter if they come in with mom and dad. We've had it where both mom and dad are looking for a house and so are the kids, but we still count that as one buying unit because that's how we're able to take and monitor and determine whether or not our buyer's agents are doing a good job, right? So if we gave them 100 swings at the bat, which just rounded up yesterday, 100 swings at the bat, and they can't get 2, 3, 4, 5 people from that, especially the way that we train them and the things that we teach them to say and the materials that they have available to hold the open house, then we know if they only pick up one deal from that, then we know we got to go back and it becomes a training issue. And then over a certain period of time, if, hey, 3 months from now, they're still not doing any better than that, then we just have to ask, was that the right person for our group? That's all. It's just business at that point, right? And so none of this happened overnight. I know everybody like, yeah, so he just one day up and did this. He's no, not how it worked.
Wow.
And then Carla, is your wife a real estate agent?
You know what? She's been by my side. We've been married going on 34 years. And I've been in the business 30, going on 38 years this February, Bob. Oh my goodness.
Good.
We've been together since I got into real estate, and she's been right by my side. She is not a licensed agent, but she knows more about our business than anyone I've ever been a part of that's not licensed. She runs the day to day, our marketing, and our helps us with our open houses and coordinates. And she is 1A to my 1B.
And but she still actually still works at a title company, does all their marketing.
You know what? This is interesting. I haven't had a chance to tell you that. I pulled her out of that. So I got her away from her desk job, and now
Ah,
she 100% with me, working remotely, doing all of our marketing, doing all of our communications and our retention and everything. So she is now working full time. Her and I are side by side.
wow. You're right. You didn't tell me that one.
Yeah, it's brand new. It's only been a week old.
Okay, cool. For just so you guys know, she worked for a title company. She did all her marketing. Now she mostly worked from home. So it became, well, hey, why not? Like, even if you have the job, but now obviously he's transitioned because he's that successful moving around, still taking listings. And let's say I dropped you out of a plane. I didn't even tell you where you were going to land. How long do you think it would take you to take a listing?
I would take a listing that very day. I don't need to know the market. I don't need to know anything other than who's has their hand up to sell their home.
Right.
I tell this to students all over the country that I train. I could literally be blindfolded, put in a plane and pushed out over the United States anywhere. Don't tell me where. I could land and I could take a listing as soon as I land.
And so, folks, when you know how to do that, gives you time freedom, which is really, at least in my opinion, it starts with economic freedom, right? You have to have the freedom economically to do that because all of his friends are going like, so you retired? He's like, no, I didn't retire. So you have to have your business built in a way that provides income for you to do that, right? And then you can say, gosh, now I can not only increase my referral fee income from what he's done building a team all over the US, but now it's just his local team. Your buyer's agents pay you what, 25, 30%?
Mostly 25% correct.
Okay. And that's, yeah, that's perfectly fine, right? It's good for them. So now, like, just take it yesterday, they had 100 people in over the weekend. Got a buyer's agent working it. I don't care, say that they picked up 2 transactions. Robert gets 25% of that, and you're in a market where the average price is above 700,000, right?
You know what? I was just looking at that because I'm doing my business plan for 24, and most of the listings I'm taking and working with are over 1 million. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. But yes, I'd say if you were to average it out, at 750, 800 would be the average. Yes.
So even if the average real estate in Southern California was 2% for on the buyer side, right? That's $14,000. A quarter of that is what? 3,500, something like that. So $3,500 a transaction. If those 2 buyers agents that worked that yesterday both got 2 transactions, guys, that's pretty good money. And he's selling the listing. That's a business. And then on the agents that he has across the United States, he's getting referral fee income on transactions that they close every month. Your business has to start have that referral fee income from the business model where a real estate company operates. Harder to do this, right? Not impossible, just harder.
It would be harder, but I think with leverage, you're able to do the things you want to do. Time freedom, but financial freedom is constant income coming in is always a good thing for sure.
And we have to think in terms of everybody always says, hey, I want to be financially free. That's a good thing. But what financial freedom really gives you is time freedom and really location freedom. You're not locked down to being in Southern California.
No, we are certainly not locked down to Southern California as much as I love it. I'm just super excited to see this great land of ours, sit down with all the agents and help them do the same thing, grow their teams, take more listings than they've ever taken in their life, and be very streamlined. So we're so excited. We're absolutely out of our mind excited about the opportunity.
And you're not going to do this forever, right?
No, and Carna keeps asking, I know this is fun and this is going to be great, but how long do you plan on doing this? I said, we've got the first year covered and we'll take it from there. Let's make our decision at the end of next year and see if we want to continue. But so far, I can't see stopping this anytime soon.
And so part of your personal plan is, hey, as you go through the different parts of the country, find a place where you could buy some land and build a house and move there. Because, well, let's be honest, guys, Southern
Yeah.
California is extremely expensive to live there. The taxes are horrific. That's why so many people are leaving.
Hmm.
So if you could find some a plot of land in Tennessee that you could build, right, income tax free state,
Hmm.
or Florida, Texas, any of those, as you go around, like you get to pick who or where you want to live while you're out having fun.
That's one of the big draws for her, for Carla, is we are looking for a piece of a plot of dirt that we can plant our flag, even if it's just a second home, Bob, even if it's just we certainly want some to get out and explore. And we're going to be inspired by something says we're putting a house here. And we know that it could be in Tennessee or Texas or Florida, one of the fine states out there with some land. Absolutely.
Yep. So what would you tell somebody's listening to this and going, wow, I love the idea. What would you tell them? Like, where do you start?
I can tell you that whether it be RVing or somebody that wants to travel a ton, whether it be locally or Europe or internationally or whatever, you want to get your business streamlined, find out what that looks like. It's very difficult to work with buyers in a virtual capacity. Being at EXP, we've been introduced to some very amazing technology, and I wanted to embrace that fully. And I like to work with the sellers. That's just the way I'm built. I feel that gives me the time freedom. So if you want to build a business, whether it be RVing, whether it be taking listings from Cabo, whether it be going to speak at a real quick conference in Las Vegas and taking a listing while I was in the airport, if you want that kind of streamlined business, I would say reach out to us and find out exactly how we're doing it, because the tools that you, Bob, have personally introduced me to have changed my life, have made Carla and I real super proud of the business model that we're working with within the tools that you've given us. That the tool belt that we have allows us that time freedom. I can jump in the RV and go anywhere and be locked into Starlink, and within a few minutes, and I'm taking listings like that.
That's an important part to remember, folks. If you're working with buyers, could you do this? The answer is no. They call you on a Saturday and go, hey, I want to go see this house. How would you do that and not be in town? And so you have to understand, if you want to build this kind of business model, that it's got to be geared around listings, which is what everything that I teach anyway. It's all he really talks about. And one of the things he talked about, he's also very successful in REO. He was an REO monster in 2008 to say 15. And you told me the other day it's coming back again, right? You're seeing more and more.
It is certainly rearing its ugly head again. I see a lot of activity in the notice of default, notice of trustee space. And so pay attention to that, how it relates to your market.
Yeah, one of our EXP agents in South Florida just got 41 listings, 41 REO listings last week.
I
40.
just referred out 25 in Jacksonville to one of our agents out there. So it is coming. And I've never have been one for doom and gloom. Just pay attention how it relates in your market. Pay attention to the notice of default, the notice of trustee, and again, how it relates to your market. So be prepared and ready.
Listen, full disclosure, folks, it's not about gloom and doom, it's reality. The truth is, Robert, in those years, you made a ton of money.
Yeah. It
While
was,
most agents were starving and leaving the business, you were making a ton of money.
we averaged 385 active listings at a time. It was ridiculous. And talk about putting systems in place. And I was traveling all over the country. I was never in the office. So that's when I first came up with the leverage is a powerful tool.
Big deal.
Yeah.
And so here's the cool part. Robert's the top trainer at EXP, a company of 90,000 agents. He's the one who does the training to get them certified, because the REO, they're the asset managers, won't work with agents that don't have experience or gone through training and certification and all that stuff. So Robert's our trainer in a 90,000 agent real estate company on REO. And so, like he said, hey, I just took those listings. He doesn't have to do any work. He's just getting a referral fee on those listings.
Yeah.
So that's where it becomes about becoming strategic and thinking about that. And the other thing too, folks, is you need to start getting around people. So I had a conversation with an agent yesterday, and I just told him, you're in this box about, hey, I just need to make more money, but I want to do all these things and I want to have time freedom and all that. And I said, great. What does that look like for you? And he said, I don't know. I got to figure that out. And I said, well, the first thing you got to do is figure out how that's going to work. What do you want to do? How's it going to happen? What do you have to do to get to that point? You've got to have a plan and a system. Well, one of the cool things is you can hang out with us to learn these things because this is what we're teaching agents how to do and how to build a life like that. And then you get to be around some that have done this. This is a big deal. What Robert and Carl have done may not be for everybody. I'm, I'll say substantially older than Robert, but not that old. But the truth is, I might have another 2 or 3 year window physically for me to be able to do that, right? The arthritis is in the hands and stuff. So over time, are you going to be 80 years old and that? Maybe not. But the cool part is because of the way that he structured his business now over the last few years, hey, in their early mid 50s, they can go out and do this while they're still young, vibrant, healthy, because it's a little bit of work, right? You got to drive around and you got to reset up and all this other stuff. And I know your thing only press a few buttons and the luxury mansion is ready. I get it.
That's certainly, there's certainly a lot of moving parts, whether it comes to slide outs or the washing machine stopped working or the fireplace won't come on or won't give heat or the plugins are not correct. There's a lot of things,
Right.
but just like anything else, you start getting a system down and it becomes second nature. We can do this. We can literally pack up in 15, 20 minutes. And I don't want to recommend rushing, getting in and out of spaces, but we can do it in about 15, 20 minutes. We're on the road. We can pull into a new spot, 15 or 20 minutes. She's running the inside. I'm on the outside. Boom, boom, done.
The funny thing is, too, guys, is this person I was talking to yesterday is like, how would I do that? I don't have internet. And it's what? It's you have this cool thing called Starlink. You guys may have heard this guy. His name is Elon Musk. Maybe you've heard of him. And he
Yeah.
has this really badass thing that he actually delivered that to Ukraine when the war started so that Ukraine could actually continue communicating and their military could run their internet. And it's, what is it, 150 bucks, I think, Robert, a month?
$150 a month. You get $600 for the equipment. And I'm streaming from it right now. And I have no problems. It
You
is
haven't buffered one iota. So,
no.
guys, all these things that you think restrict you into location and geography and that hold you prisoner, there's a solution for it. You just have to sit there and plan it out and think it through and say, is this what I want? And then you put a business plan together.
And you know what, Bob, Carla and I, when we looked at embarking on this, and this has been the best thing we've had, we literally look at each other and giggle. We're having so much fun. This is fantastic. But we looked at it as a movie. We wrote the script. We wrote it out and said, okay, this is chapter one. This is all the things we need to do. We wrote it out. And like a movie, you're going to make your in-flight adjustments. Characters are going to come and go, but you're going to write it out and how the movie should look with your in-flight adjustments. There could be a time very soon that we decide to turn left instead of right because we want to go to another opportunity or we're chasing weather or whatever. That's life. We need to make our in-flight adjustments. And this is just a chapter of it. So we're super pumped.
It doesn't matter if you go left or right, you can take a listing.
Yeah.
That's the cool part, folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, folks. Robert, thanks so much for being here. Folks, hopefully that gives you some inspiration that, hey, listen, the last 2 years in real estate have been tough. Yet here's a guy traveling the country in a luxury RV, still taking listings, still getting referral fees and that. I always tell people if there's a recession in your market, it's in your mind because you can always pivot. You can always do something just like the REO. Hey guys, if the market changes, there's REO. And if you've attended any of our business briefing classes, right? So if you want to register for those, you go to www.elevate.com and register for them. And then we do that. One of the classes we're going to teach is actually, how does he actually do the listing presentation? What does that look like? What does that sound like? We'll do more details on that. So go and register for those and then make sure you attend because we're sharing like game changing systems and strategies that people can implement into their business. That one of the things that I feel bad about is that the average real estate agent makes about $43,000 a year. We work with agents that can make $43,000 a month. And that's really possible when you take and plan out your business and decide what it is that you want, or maybe it's just being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so we do these podcasts to give you some different thoughts and to elevate the way you're thinking about your business and the value you provide. And when you provide so much value to list a house, you can do it from Zoom in whatever, Gallup, New Mexico. It doesn't matter where you're from when you provide value. So that's what the podcast is about. That's what the Elevate business briefings are about. And then folks, I'd encourage you, hang out with the people that are doing these things, right? With that, Robert, thanks so much. I don't think you're traveling today, right?
We're staying put until next Tuesday. Then we travel at the end of the month. We're going to head on to Arizona, Florida, Maine, Washington, back to San Diego. But I think that in closing, Bob, I just wanted to add one thing. You don't need to travel in an RV to go out and take a bunch of listings. You don't need to go to Cabo and take a bunch of listings. This you could do this just like you're doing your normal business. You want to stay in town. But this system allows you to take as many listings as you can humanly handle. And I think that helping more people is better than helping less. I just got to find a way that works for you. And I just appreciate you having me on today.
No, it was great. For me, I hope that this gives agents listening to this stuff hope that they could have a better business and they could have a better life. Again, one of the reasons I preach listings, listen, if you're a buyer's agent, you have no personal life. If you're a listing agent, guess what? It's 6 o'clock at night, you're home with the family. But if somebody wants to go look at a house at 6 o'clock, you're out there doing it. So it's another reason that we preach the listings. Not only does it make more money for you, but it also gives you that work-life balance, which is to me is extremely critical. So Robert, thanks so much for being here. And folks, don't forget to join us next week. Share our podcast, download the podcast, get it in the hands of some other agents, right? If you're starting to think about, hey, I'd like to do that, you're going to start to think about building a team. What if you started sharing like our information and our classes with these people so they started considering those things? So with that, thanks so much for listening, folks, and we'll see you next week. Remember, if you list, you last.